December 5th, 1872. The middle of the Atlantic Ocean. A British cargo ship is crossing toward Gibraltar when the lookout spots something strange. Another ship, a few miles ahead, moving the way no ship should move. Wandering, sliding off course, then swinging back. They signal her. No reply. They come closer. There is no one at the wheel. No one on deck. No one answers. And when they finally climb aboard, they find a ship in perfect working order. Cargo intact, food for 6 months, the crew's belongings exactly where they were left. And not a single human being. 10 people have vanished from the middle of the ocean. This is the Mary Celeste. And 150 years later, we still don't know what happened on board. Let's go back to that morning and walk through it step by step. Because every small detail of what those men found is about to matter. The British ship is called the De Gratia. Her captain, David Morehouse, is an experienced, respected seaman, not a man given to sea stories. Through his glass, Captain Morehouse studies the stranger. Some of her sails are set, others hang loose. She yaws left, then right. Nobody is steering her. He runs up signal flags, the common language of the sea. Any living crew would answer. This ship says nothing, so he decides to come alongside. Morehouse sends 3 men across in a small boat, led by his first mate, Oliver Devoe. Remember the name Devoe. Everything we know next, we know from him. As they pull closer, First Mate Devoe reads the name on the stern. Mary Celeste. A brigantine out of New York. He calls out. Silence. Devoe climbs aboard. The deck is empty. The wheel is spinning free, untied. The only sound on the whole ship is canvas flapping in the wind. He moves along the deck. The forward hatch is open, its cover lying upside down beside it. From the hold below comes the smell of damp, and something sharper. There is water in the hold, about 1 meter of it. Sounds bad, but after weeks of storms, it's nothing fatal. The pumps could clear it in a few hours. Then Devoe notices what's missing. The ship's one lifeboat is gone. Not smashed, not torn away by a wave, launched. Someone left this ship on purpose, and from the stern, a single rope trails down into the sea, frayed at the end, as if it had snapped. Hold on to that rope. It may end up explaining everything. Devoe goes below deck, and this is where the story stops being strange and becomes genuinely frightening. Because down here, life has simply stopped mid-motion. In the captain's cabin, he finds a woman's dresses, a sewing machine, and a child's toys scattered across the floor. A family lived in this room. There's even a small raised bed for a little child, built right into the cabin. Whoever these people were, they were carrying a baby across the Atlantic. Against the wall stands a melodeon, a small organ with sheet music beside it. Pirates would have taken it. Thieves would have taken it. It's untouched. In the crew's quarters, the same picture. Sea chests full of clothes, pipes and tobacco left behind, boots standing neatly by the bunks. Sailors never abandon their boots. Now, you've probably heard about warm meals waiting on the table. That detail is world famous. It's also completely false. And later I'll tell you exactly who invented it. What Devoe actually found was a galley in order, and food and water for 6 months. Whatever made these people leave, it wasn't hunger. Then he checks the captain's desk, and things get interesting. The ship's papers are gone. The chronometer is gone. The sextant is gone. Those are navigation instruments, the tools that tell you where you are at sea. That's not a random list. Someone grabbed exactly what a small open boat would need. One thing was left behind, the ship's logbook. Its final entry is dated November the 25th, 10 days before the De Gratia found her. and that entry places the Mary Celeste near the Azores, roughly 400 miles from where she was found. For 10 days, this ship had been sailing herself. Back on deck, more details. The ship's compass is smashed, its housing knocked over. 2 hatches stand open. One of the pumps is taken apart, as if someone was checking it. Beside the pump lies a sounding rod, the tool for measuring water in the hold. The last thing somebody did on this ship was check how fast she was flooding. And in the hold, under that meter of water, the cargo. 1,701 barrels of raw industrial alcohol bound for Genoa, Italy. Months later, when that cargo was finally unloaded, the count came up short. 9 barrels, exactly 9, were completely empty. Put that number next to the frayed rope. So here's the full picture. A seaworthy ship. Food for months. Money and valuables untouched. Navigation tools and the lifeboat gone. And 10 people missing. No fire, no signs of a fight. No blood, no damage a storm couldn't explain. Devoe later said it under oath. This ship was fit to sail around the world. Captain Morehouse faces a choice. By the law of the sea, a recovered ship means serious salvage money. He splits his crew, puts 3 men aboard the Mary Celeste, and takes both ships to Gibraltar. He's expecting a reward. What's waiting for him in Gibraltar instead is an accusation of murder. But before we get there, who were these 10 missing people? The captain of the Mary Celeste was Benjamin Briggs, 37 years old, and he is the exact opposite of everything a story like this is supposed to need. Briggs came from a famous seafaring family. 5 brothers, all sailors, sons of a captain. He had commanded ships for years without a single incident. He didn't drink. At all. He was deeply religious, careful, and respected by everyone who ever sailed with him. Not a man who panics. Not a man who gambles. He believed in this voyage so much that he bought a share of the ship and brought his family with him, his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. That melodeon in the cabin? It was Sarah's. She played for the crew in the evenings. By every account, this was a warm, happy ship to serve on. The Briggs' 7-year-old son, Arthur, stayed home with his grandmother to attend school. That one ordinary decision saved the boy's life. The crew, 7 sailors, hand-picked by Captain Briggs himself. 4 were Germans, 2 of them brothers, all with spotless records. Experienced, sober, reliable men. In his last letter from New York, Briggs wrote to his mother that he had a fine crew and felt confident about the voyage. Ordinary, calm words. His last ones. On November the 7th, 1872, the Mary Celeste left New York for Genoa, carrying her 1,700 barrels of alcohol. 10 people on board. The first 2 weeks of the crossing were rough. Storms most of the way. Nothing unusual for November. The logbook shows a ship handling it all normally. Then, on the morning of November the 25th, the weather cleared. The last note the captain ever wrote is calm and ordinary. An island in the Azores now in sight. 8 in the morning. He writes down where the ship is. And after that, nothing, ever again. Whatever happened to those 10 people happened within hours of that line. And here's what makes it worse. The weather that morning was fine. The sea was calm enough. Whatever drove these people off their ship, it was not a storm they could see coming. One more thing about the ship. Sailors whispered about it for years. She was built under a different name. The Amazon. And the Amazon had been a very unlucky ship. Her very first captain fell ill and died right at the start of her first voyage. After that came crashes, a fire on board, and a wreck off the coast of Canada. In 1869, New owners rebuilt the ship and gave her a new name, Mary Celeste. And to sailors, changing a ship's name is one of the worst bad luck signs there is. Just superstition, of course, but it tells you how uneasy sailors already felt about this ship, even before the day everyone aboard disappeared. Now back to Gibraltar. The captain of the British ship files his claim for the salvage reward, and the case lands on the desk of the local prosecutor, a man named Solly Flood. And the prosecutor decides, almost at once, that he's looking at a crime. 10 people don't simply vanish, he reasons. Someone must have made them vanish. And the evidence seems to help him. Under the captain's bed they find a sword with dark stains on it. There are dark streaks on the deck railings, too. It all looks like blood. His first idea is simple. The sailors broke into the alcohol they were carrying, got drunk, killed the captain and his family, and ran for the lifeboat. One problem: the cargo wasn't drinking alcohol. It was raw industrial alcohol, basically poison. One sip burns your throat, a glass can blind you or kill you, and the crew doesn't fit the story either. The captain had picked these men himself, experienced, sober, clean records, and the ship showed no sign of any fight at all. So the prosecutor tries a second idea, a setup. What if the captain of the British ship and the captain of the Mary Celeste planned it together? Fake a mystery, then split the reward? The two captains did know each other. By one account, they even had dinner together in New York the night before the Mary Celeste sailed. Suspicious? Maybe. But the money makes no sense. The Mary Celeste's captain owned a piece of the ship himself. Wrecking her name wrecked his own savings, and vanish forever, with his wife and baby. Why? Then the test results come back from London. The stains on the sword and the railings are not blood. They're rust and spilled wine. The one solid piece of evidence is gone. For 3 months the prosecutor hunts for a crime. He never finds one. No bodies, no reason, no proof. Just an empty ship and his own stubborn hunch. The ship is finally released. But here's the telling detail. The reward for the British crew who found her is cut way down, to about 1/6 of what the ship and cargo were worth. The message underneath: we can't prove you did anything, but we don't fully believe you. The captain leaves with his money, and with a suspicion that follows him for life. So the official investigation ends with no answer at all, and into that empty space rushes 150 years of theories. Let's go through them one by one. Theory 1. Pirates. The Atlantic had its raiders, and a lone ship is easy prey. Simple, familiar, and it falls apart in about 10 seconds, because pirates take things. The cargo, worth a fortune, left behind. The crew's wages, left behind. The captain's valuables, his wife's belongings, all still there. Whoever emptied this ship took the navigation tools and the papers and left the valuables. That isn't a robbery. That's people getting off a ship in a hurry. Theory 2. Freak weather. A waterspout, basically a tornado over water, passing right over the ship. And honestly, this one explains several of the clues pretty well. A waterspout can suddenly drop the air pressure, push water up into the ship, and knock the compass over, which is exactly the kind of damage the Mary Celeste actually had. It can even trick the crew. They measure the water in the hold, and the reading says the ship is flooding fast, when really she's barely taking on any water at all. So the captain, sure his ship is sinking, orders everyone into the boat. That would explain the rush, but it doesn't explain everything. Keep that in mind. Theory 3. The newspaper's favorite. A sea monster. A giant squid rising from the deep and pulling sailors off the deck, one by one. As a campfire story, it's great. As an explanation, it's hopeless. Monsters don't steal navigation instruments and ships' papers, and they don't carefully lower the lifeboat first. There were stranger ideas, too. Undersea earthquakes, ghosts, even the Bermuda Triangle, though the Mary Celeste was nowhere near it. But clear away the noise, line up only the proven facts, and they keep pointing in one direction. At the cargo. At those 9 empty barrels. Here's the leading theory today, the one most historians accept. And it starts down in the cargo hold, in the dark, weeks before anyone disappeared. Those 9 empty barrels weren't random. Unlike the rest, they were made of red oak, a porous wood. Alcohol doesn't leak out through it. It evaporates through it, into the air. That's around 1,700 liters of raw alcohol slowly turning into vapor inside a sealed wooden hold. For 17 days, while storms throw the ship around. The storms made it worse. Barrels grinding against each other, their seams loosening, fumes building up with nowhere to escape. Below deck, the ship was slowly becoming a bomb. Now go back to that clear morning, November the 25th. The storms stop. The sun comes out. The air warms up. And warm air makes those fumes expand and push harder. Below deck, the pressure pushes up against the hatches, the big covers that close off the hold. And then comes a sound, a rumble, a hiss, maybe a dull bang, as one cover blows off. Remember what the first sailor aboard found? That front hatch open, its heavy cover lying upside down on the deck. That's exactly the mark a sudden pressure burst leaves behind. Now put yourself in the captain's place. Under your feet, 1,700 barrels of cargo that can explode. Something just blew below deck. Your wife is aboard. Your 2-year-old daughter is aboard. You've got minutes, maybe seconds, to decide. And the safest move looks obvious. Get everyone off the ship, into the boat, and wait a little way off to see if she blows up. That's why they grabbed exactly the navigation instruments and the ship's papers, and nothing else. You take what a small boat needs, you leave the valuables behind. And here's our rope again. They tied the lifeboat to the ship with a long line. The smart move. Stay connected. If nothing explodes, you just pull yourselves back aboard. It should have worked. It almost certainly would have. Except the Mary Celeste still had some sails up. And that afternoon, the wind came back. The ship lurched forward, dragging the overloaded little boat through the rising waves. The rope stretched, strained, scraped against the back of the ship, and snapped. And that's the moment the whole mystery actually happened. Not a monster, not a mutiny, a rope breaking, and a ship sailing away from her own people. 10 people in a small, open boat meant for working near the harbor. Hundreds of miles from land. November, the Atlantic. You can row. You cannot win. And we know the cruelest part from the British ship's own logbook. That very night, the weather turned again. Squalls, rain, rising seas, right across the area where the boat would have been. They had their instruments, maybe a little water, and an island somewhere within reach. On paper, not hopeless. But the boat was never found, and neither were they. Now, is this fume idea just a neat story? No, it's actually been tested. In 2006, a scientist in London built a small model of the hold and filled it with alcohol vapor. When he set it off, it made a violent pressure blast, a wave of cool flame that threw the covers open but left no soot, no burning, not even scorched paper inside. Which matches the Mary Celeste exactly. A blown open hatch, a terrified crew, and a hold with no fire damage at all. The bomb that scared them off never actually went off. The ship aired out her fumes, calmed down, and simply kept sailing. Perfectly safe, completely empty, for 10 days, until the British ship crossed her path. And a ship sailing herself isn't magic either, by the way. Abandoned ships drifting empty were a known problem back then. Hundreds floated across the Atlantic for months, even years. Maybe it wasn't the fumes, but the waterspout's false flooding alarm. Maybe it was both at once. The heart of it stays the same. A careful captain made a careful choice, and the sea broke it. That's why most historians land here. It's the only version where every clue fits. The missing boat, the cut rope, the instruments, the open hatch, the 9 barrels, the untouched valuables. But most likely still isn't proven. No wreckage from the boat, no bodies, no witness. The last hours of those 10 people are gone for good. And that's the cruelest thing about the Mary Celeste. The ocean handed the ship back in perfect condition. It just kept the people. So where did the warm meals on the table come from? The neatly set chairs? The ghost ship everyone thinks they know? That myth had an author, and a very famous one. In 1884, a young unknown doctor published a short story, without his name on it, about an abandoned ship. That doctor was Arthur Conan Doyle, the future creator of Sherlock Holmes. 3 years before Holmes, the writer Conan Doyle invented the details we now mix up with the facts. Meals still warm, everything in perfect order, a crew gone for no reason at all. His story was so convincing that newspapers reprinted it as a true account. Officials tied to the real case had to publicly deny it. Too late. The legend was already loose. From that day on, there have been 2 Mary Celestes. The real, documented ship, with her rope and her barrels, and the ghost ship of the legend. The legend always travels faster. And the real ship? After Gibraltar, she became an outcast. Sailors refused to work on her. Owners passed her along like a curse. 17 different owners in 12 years. She lost money for every one of them. By 1885, her last captain, a man named Parker, decided the Mary Celeste was worth more wrecked than afloat. So Captain Parker filled her with worthless junk, insured it as valuable cargo, and then, in broad daylight, deliberately ran the ship straight onto a coral reef near Haiti. The ship that had survived everything refused to sink even then, so they set her on fire. The Mary Celeste died burning on a reef, killed on purpose by her own captain. The insurance scam fell apart almost at once. Captain Parker was hauled through the courts, ruined and dead within months. The curse, sailors said, had taken its very last crew. In 2001, an expedition said it had found her remains on that reef. Later testing disagreed. The wood was too young to be her. Even her wreck refuses to be pinned down for shore. So the ship is gone. The people are gone. Even the wreck is in doubt. What's left is the question. And the reason that question refuses to die. The Mary Celeste sticks with us because it breaks the one rule we count on, that the sea kills loudly. Storms, fires, rocks, things that leave wreckage you can point to. Here, the sea took 10 people and left the ship without a scratch. No villain, no battle, no shipwreck. Just an emptiness under sail in the middle of the ocean. And behind the legend were real people. A careful captain, his wife, who played music for the crew in the evenings, their little daughter, 2 years old, and 7 good sailors. In Germany, 2 mothers waited for news of 4 sons who were sailors on that ship. In America, a grandmother and a little boy waited for it to come home. None of them ever got an answer. That little boy was the captain's 7-year-old son, left home to go to school. He grew up waiting. In one way or another, he waited for the rest of his life. The most likely truth is quiet and terrible. A good decision, a worn rope, a wind picking back up. 10 minutes that no history book will ever bring back. Or maybe it was something else completely, something none of these theories even touch. That's the thing about the Mary Celeste. She never quite says no to a new idea. 150 years of searching, and the ocean has given exactly one answer on the matter: silence. So what do you think happened in those 10 minutes? The fumes, the waterspout, or something stranger? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And subscribe, because next time it's another true story that sounds impossible, but really happened. Thanks for watching.